Episode 113, IRONMAN 70.3 Canada with Leslie Williamson. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in there for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the pursuit of the perfect race. Today I have the pleasure of talking to my friend Leslie Williamson about her recent race experience at IRONMAN 70.3 Canada, where she had a time of 6 hours, 14 minutes, 47 seconds. Leslie has been doing triathlons for 3 years now. This was her fourth 70.3 triathlon. This race took place on July 29th, 2018, with the temperature being 55 and rising to 96, where the water temperature was 72 degrees. Welcome to the show, Leslie. I look forward to hearing about your race experience at IRONMAN 70.3 Canada.
Hi. It's good to talk to you.
Awesome. So what made you want to do this race?
You know what? So I told my husband that I wanted to do another race after Boulder. I was really happy with my new coach, just in my training. I told him, I was like, I want to do, have a year to just really give it my all and see what I'm able to do. And he surprised me with Canada. He secretly wanted to go play golf. And so he was like, oh, family vacation. So after he signed me up, I was like, do you realize how hard that course is? And he's like, oh, no, you'll be fine. And I was like, oh, Lord. Okay. So, but it was fun. It was fun to have the challenge and know, I at least had a year to get ready for it. So
right.
I was excited.
So he bought you the registration without you knowing that you registered.
Yep. And then he threw in there, we're going to stay 2 weeks after. So yeah, so it was good incentive, family vacation.
Nice. So being that this is your fourth time going into this race, you said you have a new coach. How was your planning and training going into this race?
It was pretty intense. I like my coach because he gets me. I can't run a lot. I'm really, really injury prone. And he believes in more it's high intensity, but with a lot of rest. And at the beginning of the year, I started to get injured again. And he discovered that I love to wake up early. Even though I go to bed early, it was my heart rate was too high. And so I wasn't absorbing my training. So once I started checking my heart rate in the morning and checking the variability, I haven't had any issues. So, but he puts me through the ringer. I mean, it's hard. It's
nice.
Hard work. Yeah.
Who's your coach?
Jim Brown.
Okay. So going into this race, what was your longest swim, bike, and run workouts?
I believe my longest swim was probably around maybe 42 to 45, maybe. I mean, it was probably 42, with kicks. So I have a lot of kicks. My longest bike was 3 hours, and I only did that once. And my longest run was 45 minutes, and that's only because I went 15 minutes extra. But, most of them were 20 to 30 minutes right off the bike.
Okay. How many bricks were you doing?
Every bike, I would run off the bike, at least for 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And we started off, I would have actual running days, but then I was just getting way too injured. I was starting getting little nicks and pains, and so we switched it around, and we had good success. And he just made my swims a lot longer. So he has a belief in that, your heart doesn't know the difference, what you're doing. So as long as you're doing something that, your body will adapt. And I've been pretty happy so far with my results.
Okay. Now, going into this race, I know you're vegan, right?
Yeah, 7 years.
How much of a nutrition aspect was it to find nutrition that worked for you?
When I started getting into triathlon, it was a little tricky, but I haven't really had any issues. I have discovered over time that it's more about what you do the week before versus day of and night before. So I always make sure that I get as much nutrition, nutritious food the week before. And the night before my race, I just mainly do, I'll do a lot of juices, just to get the carbs, but not anything really heavy. Yeah, I haven't had any trouble.
Okay. So going into this race, what workouts did you do that gave you the confidence to go into it prepared?
I can't say that I felt very confident going into this because being from Texas, we don't really have a lot of continuous hills, So I was just banking on the fact that I knew I could swim and I knew I could bike 3 hours, and I was doing a lot of like VO2 max work. So I knew my legs could handle it. The running, I just knew, if all else fails, I knew I'd cross that finish line. It might not be as fast as I wanted, but I knew, anybody can walk. So I knew I would finish no matter what.
Okay. So going into this race, did you miss any training?
No, not really. No. Maybe running, but we just made it up with swimming and biking.
Okay. Now, were there any days where you mentally just didn't want to train?
You know what? I believe in a positive mental attitude. So any time I would have that feeling, I would immediately try to find something positive to think about. I would see bike workouts and they would just scare the living shit out of me. Cause I was like, oh my God, like I have to do that. And the second I would think that, I would turn it into, okay, this is a challenge. This is something that once I complete it, I'm going to be 1,000 times stronger. And all my coach wants me to do is just try. You just try. If you fail, then next time you can do better. And you don't like that feeling? Okay, try harder next time. So I kind of enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing something that scared me and made me feel a little uncomfortable, because I knew on race day, I'd be able to handle anything.
Wow, that's great. Now, with your training going into this race, how many hours did your training max out at?
I don't know exactly, but I could check Training Peaks, but maybe 7 hours. I mean, nothing. I mean, I was low. Everybody else, yeah, okay. Super low.
Now, when you're not training or racing, what are you doing?
Well, my husband travels for work, so he's gone almost every week. So like Monday through Friday, I have my girls, and I am everything. I'm gardener, I'm chauffeur, I'm taking care of them, and I try to get all my workouts in early morning if I can, with my heart rate. But I don't want to take away time from them. So it's basically just, making sure they're not affected by my goals. Okay.
So how big of an issue is balancing life, work, and training?
It's hard, but we're trying to make it work. Like I said, my husband travels for work, so we see him, on the weekends. So and the weekends, that's his time with girls, and I try to get my longer bike rides in, and we try to make it work, and it's just, you take it day out.
All right. Did you make any sacrifices going into this race?
Yeah. Going to bed early. I always try to get into bed, before 9, but a lot of times if he's out of town, I go to bed when my girls go to bed about 7:30, and getting up early, so I can get it done before they are affected by it. So, I mean, it's just sacrificing, time to just relax, I guess,
Okay. So shifting gears a little bit, when did you actually start traveling to the race?
Oh, okay. So we left Friday morning, and it was crazy. It was crazy. So we left Friday morning, and we got to Vancouver, and it was just, there was thousands and thousands of people, and we had to wait in line. It took probably it took a good like 2 hours to get out of the airport, just because there was so many people. It was crazy. I've never seen so many people, and you had to wait in line to wait another line to wait another line just to get a piece of paper, then to go wait another line. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then once we got our rental car, getting out of Vancouver took, a good hour plus just because of traffic. So it was an adventure, and we were hoping to get to Whistler before 5 so that we could do the check-in process, do some of it, but we didn't get in till like 6. So I was freaking out a little bit just because I knew I had to get my shakeout workouts in and find my bike, and just, my brain was going crazy.
How did you get your bike up there?
I used the bike transport.
Okay.
The one that's affiliated with Ironman.
Okay.
I don't know. Tri
Bike Transport, maybe.
Yeah, Tri Bike. Yeah.
Okay. And did you go and pick up your bike when you got there on Friday?
I waited, and I went the next morning, like first thing, 9 o'clock. And I got my bike, and that's when I realized that my power meter wasn't working. And I was like, oh, great. So I just happened to have another battery in my bag. So I switched it out, and I was like, the green light came on. So I was like, okay, cool. We grabbed lunch. I took my bike down to where you have to go to a different transition to go to where the lake is, where T1 is. And so we drove my bike there after lunch, and they wouldn't let any cars in and out. So I was like, well, it can't be that far. I was like, how far down is it? Can I ride my bike there? They're like, sure. I had all my stuff. And he was like, well, it's probably like a mile down the road. Well, it was not a mile down the road. It was pretty far, and it was so hilly. Like, I was not prepared. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, this is just like the day before. Like, these are like little bitty rollers. Like, this is nothing compared to what I have to do. And it scared me a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
So you got to the transition to drop your bike off. Was everything pretty smooth?
Yeah, everything was pretty smooth. It was gorgeous. I mean, it was just absolutely gorgeous. Got in the water. The water felt freezing, but it was so neat to be swimming, and you could see the bottom. I mean, it was just gorgeous, gorgeous. Like, the whole time you could see all the way down. It was beautiful, beautiful.
Wow.
So that once I was able to do that, it made me feel better. But there was so many people because it was a full and a half, and it was hot. I mean, it was so hot. There was no water bottle refills out there. I mean, it was just lines of people. You had to wait. And, I forgot to say, so whenever I checked in my bike, they take pictures of your bike. And so they put my bike up, and he was like, well, move your pedal a little bit. And I moved my pedal, and my chain came off. So then when I was in transition, I was trying to get my chain back on, and I was like, oh, what else can go wrong? So I was just really freaking out. And then I did my swim, like I said, and I felt better once I did that. But then I was like, well, how am I going to get back to my hotel? And they had shuttle buses, but there was a line all the way down the road. And they only had like 2 more buses coming. So thank goodness there was a taxi coming in. And so my husband was like, hey, let's just take a taxi. And so we took the taxi, and I felt really bad because we're passing all these people and they're waving us down. They're like, can we get a ride? I was like, we could totally fit more people in here, but the cab driver wouldn't do it. And the whole ride back to our condo, the cab driver was telling us how much he hated the Ironman coming here. I was like, oh man. So
really? I wonder why.
Yeah. Because they shut down all the roads. And I was like, well, they changed the course. He was like, yeah, but there's only one way in, one way out. And so I don't know. I guess not everybody loves, I was like, that's what I told him. I was like, well, you know what? Like, when you're in it, it's so much different than when you're spectating. But yeah.
Right. Now, whenever you had the anxiety with your chain coming off, where was your positive self-talk at?
Oh, it's actually kind of funny. So, okay. So my coach told me, he told me this quote from, I think it's Mike Tyson. And he was like, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. And so I just kept telling myself that. I was like, just roll with it. It is what it is. Like, there's nothing else I could do. So once he told me that, I kind of just like snapped out of it. And I was like, okay, like, just, you're going to have to do it. So who cares what the number is?
Right. Now, were you trying to get a certain meal in the day before the race to prepare you?
Well, you know what? So I was thinking about that because I've heard your podcast, and I don't think I've done enough of these to like know like what my body really wants. So I just focused on the morning of, like the morning before. I had pancakes and oatmeal, and then for lunch I think I had like it was like this panini sandwich, and I took all the insides out, so just bread. And then for dinner I just had juice. So I was like, well, that's instant carbs.
Right. Now, going into this race, what time did you go to bed the night before?
Oh, you're gonna die. So I told you, like, I go to bed really early. So I did this at Boulder, and I had a lot of success. So I was in bed at 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
4 p.m.
p.m.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Yeah.
And what time did you wake up?
3:45.
Okay.
I woke up before my alarm. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
so
you had like 11 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I actually slept. I slept. I got up to pee a couple times. I think I ate a banana in the middle of the night. I saw like the trail. I was like, oh man, I must have like been eating in my sleep, but just nerves. But yeah.
Okay. So what time you got up at 3:45, and what was your ritual like before you left your condo?
So espresso. Oh my God, espresso. I made my husband get me some the night before. So I have espresso, and then I have this, I call it my go-go juice. It's totally bizarre, but I've been doing it for, I guess 2 years now. And it's, like this green algae powder, and I put some mushroom powders, like these cordyceps, like adaptogens, apple cider vinegar, and some electrolyte. And I drink that. And that's like when I know every time I drink that, I'm like, hey, it's go time. And that's like, but I like to swim early in the morning, and that's what I have before my swims it just like gets me mentally like I'm there, I'm ready.
Okay.
So it's not for everybody. It tastes really bad, but I kind of like it now. So
okay. Now, what time did you actually want to get to transition to start going over your bike and getting ready for the race?
So I was really nervous about that because the lines were so long everywhere. And it's just, I'm not really good at time management. I would rather be somewhere super early than to be like rushed. I don't do well like rushed. My brain just goes haywire. So I ended up walking to T1 where they had the shuttles. And I got there, the first shuttle was at 4:30. And I think I got there like 4:25. And so that was kind of neat because I got to talk to some of the people doing the full. And this lady came up to me. She was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just doing the half. And she was like, I'm doing the full, but I've noticed with Ironman, there's no such thing as just the half. And I was like, well, I guess you're right. And she's like, yeah, y'all have to go all the way to the top of the mountain. We don't. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess you're right. So, but the shuttle to T2 was real smooth. It was nice.
Okay. So you get to transition. How's your check-in with your bike and pumping everything up? How's that go for you?
Well, I was freaking out a little bit because my tires had lost a lot of pressure, and the lines do they have like all these pumps everywhere, but the lines were crazy. So I found a lady that let me use her pump, and of course there's like this old pump, and I'm not very bike savvy, so I was like, how the hell did I use this thing? She kept telling me, she was like, well, I don't think my pump is strong enough. But I was like determined. I was like, no, I'm getting air in these tires. And so I made her hold my bike. I didn't really give her a choice. And she did. And it took me probably about 30 minutes, but I got some air in there. And I have no idea how much I put in there. I just kept pumping until I couldn't pump anymore.
Okay. Now, what kind of nutrition did you use for this race?
So in training, I do something totally different than actual race day. But on race day, I try to keep it exactly to what my coach says. And it's what's on course. So he says Gatorade, but Gatorade does not sit well with me. So I like Scratch. So I'll do like an electrolyte and like gels.
Okay. Do you have an ideal number of calories you're trying to get per hour?
One every 45 minutes.
Okay. Now, in between the time that you leave transition and get ready for the swim, how was that process for you?
It was cold. It was really, really cold. I ended up putting my wetsuit on because I was so cold. And I had flip-flops because the ground was really, really wet and it was just freezing. And it was crazy to see all the pros, and they're just like, in a speed suit, like no big deal. And they're warming up I'm like, man, they just seem so much tougher than me. But yeah, it was cold. It was really cold.
Wow. So are you using a full sleeve or a sleeveless?
Full sleeve.
What kind of wetsuit are you using?
Roka.
You like it?
Love it.
Really?
Love it. Yeah.
Is it your first wetsuit that you owned, or have you went through a few?
No, I've had a Zoot, and I've had the 2XU, and the Roka's by far my favorite.
Okay. Now, whenever everybody starts lining up for the swim, how does this work with the full and the half on the same day?
So what they do is the pros go off first. And so we all got to watch the pros, and the full lines up in, that little transition area, the little chute, I guess you would call it. And they waited until the first pro came out of the water, and then they started the full. So that was pretty neat. And once the full went out, then we were allowed to leave transition and line up. And then once everybody got out for the full, they gave us, I think it was like 10 minutes to do a warm up. And then we had to get out.
Wow, and then y'all had to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, so y'all are basically standing around for like 3 hours or so?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you approach this from a nutrition standpoint of, that you're going to be there just hanging out from 5 o'clock to almost 8 o'clock just hanging out?
I have like really bad like indigestion, so I cannot eat anything before a swim, or I will throw it up, even a gel. Like I just can't do it. So I just do all my nutrition on the bike.
Okay.
And I make sure the week before and like the days leading up that I really I almost triple my calories.
Okay. Now,
I'm not saying it's the smartest thing for everybody to do, but for me, it works.
Okay. Going into the swim, what was your mindset?
Well, I got up to the front, and my mindset was, because it was a rolling start, everybody, and they told us like everybody's time starts at the same time. Like you don't really and you have to walk like really far out. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be stuck behind the slower people in the pool, I might as well just go with the fast people and just be in the mix. So I ended up going, I think I was like, I don't know. I was in the first couple people, but there was so many people that you really could not, I couldn't do my own pace. I just had to stay where I was. And the mindset going in, I told myself to just stay in the moment,
Okay.
I mean, I love swimming, so I don't really get freaked out.
Did you have an ideal time that you were wanting to aim for that day?
Yeah, I wanted to get a lot faster than I did. I think I ended up doing like 38 minutes, and I wanted to get somewhere around 35 or under. Yeah.
Okay.
Which it's not that far off, but I could have gone a lot faster. The swim felt effortless. I mean, it was pretty easy, but I mean, I was like, well, I have a hard day. So I kept telling myself, my coach tells me, he's like, if you have a slow swim, it's okay. The swim is just a warm up. Like,
right.
Unless you're like, 10 minutes faster, those couple minutes aren't really going to matter that much.
Exactly. Now, before the swim goes off, did you happen to have like an extra hair tie in case the hair tie that you used broke?
I did. I thought about you, and it didn't break. But I had sandals on, and I actually didn't have like any junky pair, and I had a really nice pair of sandals. I was like, oh gosh, well, kiss them goodbye. And I made sure I kept them on right before the start because my feet were frozen. I mean, they were so cold. And I threw them off to the side. But what's really neat, though, is the next day after the race, they actually had my sandals like out at the little Ironman village. So I got them back. Wow. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Did you have an extra pair of goggles just in case something happened to the ones you were wearing?
I did. And you know what? So when I did the swim warm-up, my goggles were leaking really bad. So I was like, oh, great crap. And I was able to tighten them and no problems.
Good. As far as how you did your hair the day before the day of the race, how did you do your hair?
Well, I kind of have a tradition that I don't really wash my hair because I'm one of those people, I have to wash my hair every day. And so before a race, I just don't wash it. It is what it is. It's going to get nasty anyways. And I just tie it back. I don't care about it because in the race, what are you going to do?
Right. I think that's not the first time I've heard that because with longer hair, it's easier if it's not washed and it has a little bit of, moisture or oils in it.
Yeah.
And it helps a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Now, after you get out of the swim, were there wetsuit peelers?
There were. And I had a lot of trouble getting my wetsuit off, but got it off. These poor girls, they pulled so hard. It was just getting it over my watch. Got it off, and then I couldn't find my bag. And someone had grabbed my bag and gone into the changing tent. So I just ran in there, and they actually had my bag, got changed. And I thought about you because I memorized where my bike was. And I kept telling myself, I know where my bike is. I know where it is. And sure enough, I went down the wrong side. And I immediately thought about you. And I was like, oh, I need Terry here. I need you here. The listeners don't know this, but you saved me at Boulder. You helped me find my bike. And then at Galveston, the pink tape helped so much too. So I was needing you, but I found it. I chuckled.
You didn't put it on the ground?
No, it was grass. It was grass.
Oh.
Yeah. But I did think about you. It made chuckle. It kind of got me in a better mindset. So that's pretty cool.
Well, good. So you get out on the bike. How's the first few miles go on the bike?
So when I first started the bike, I was really nervous because my power band wasn't working and I at least had its speed. And I noticed my watch wasn't working and I'm just technology. It's not my thing. So I was like, well, just focus on moving forward. The main thing I knew getting out of the park was going to be a challenge because I had biked in the day before. So I was just telling myself high cadence and don't push too hard in the hills. Don't push too hard in the hills because from the map, it looked like it was either mile 18 or 19. That's when the incline started going up. We had to start climbing up the mountain. And so I was just thinking about conserve.
Okay. You said high cadence. What does high cadence look like for you?
I was just going by feel, but normally it's anywhere from like 90 above.
Okay. Now, on the bike ride, did you have a strategy of how you wanted to attack it?
Yeah, before my power meter started working, I had it all planned, and then it all went out the window. So I just had to go by feel, basically, which was scary because I was like, oh, great.
So you just had to make a adjustment on the way.
Yeah, and I knew from Boulder that with the altitude, everything feels harder. Everything feels harder, and it takes longer to recover. So that sucky lactic acid feeling stays there longer. So I knew to not pay attention to that. And I knew that my breathing was going to be more labored and to just not worry about that. So I don't even look at my heart rate. I just went by it when it starts burning, just spin your legs, spin your legs, spin your legs, and think about something else.
Okay. So walk me through the bike course. How was that?
Oh boy, the bike course. It was relentless. It was absolutely relentless. I remember getting to what I thought was about mile 20, and it was already really hard. And I was like, oh, okay, like this can get harder. And then when we turned to go up the big climb, I remember thinking, I've got like, I don't know, maybe a mile in, and I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I can do this, because I was on my smallest chain, the easiest gear, and my legs were just like barely moving. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know if I can do this. And I remember seeing the people ahead of me and they weren't stopping. So I was like, you know, if they can do it, like you can do it too. And so then I just started thinking, okay, what can I do in this moment? I can have a smoother pedal stroke. I can adjust my way I'm sitting. I can sit on my sit bones. I can relax my upper body. I can just breathe. I can look at the tree ahead of me, just make it to the next tree. And that helped a lot. I ended up passing a lot of people. But it was up and up and up. And then, oh, you got to go up some more. And I remember seeing they had a turnaround for the full, and we had to keep going up. And I was like, oh, no way. And it was crazy.
At that moment, did you wish that you had done the full?
No, because then I was like, they had to turn around and come back and do it 2 more times. So I was like, no, you know, it can't be as bad as them. But once I finally made it to the top, and it was kind of cool because you could see like the ski chute, like where they did like the Olympics and all that. So it was kind of cool. I guess that's where they did the Olympics. I don't know. It said ski chute. So, that was neat. But once we got to the top, I remember thinking, oh shit, like I got to descend now. Like, what am I going to do? But I was surprised that when I started descending, I actually liked it. And there was a lot of switchbacks. And I didn't break once. So I was pretty proud of myself.
Wow.
On that one. Yeah. But they did tell us in the athlete briefing that if you cross the yellow line, it's an automatic DNF. And they were actually like pulling people off the course. They would like right up beside people and like just take them right then and there. I was like, oh, okay. So I made sure like no matter what, I did not go over that yellow line because the roads were closed. But, you know, it's really easy if you're trying to pass a bunch of people to just, you know, go around them. So, wow. Yeah, but it was interesting. And then when we had to turn back towards the lake, like go back to the lake, but doing a little loop, there was a lot of crashes. Because it was just, it was a hairpin, like stop turn. And we were coming down, you know, a 40 plus mile an hour. And then it was, turn. And it was pretty bad. It was
about what mile marker was that?
Maybe like around 40 or 30 or 40. Yeah.
Okay. Did the full have to do that as well?
Yeah. And I think that could have been a lot of it too. People doing the full and crashing as well. But there was a lot.
Okay. Now, going into this bike ride, was the quality of the road really good, or was it kind of bad? What was it? What was the quality of the road like?
You know, like it wasn't rough. I mean, actually, you know, there's a lot of bumps. Stuff wasn't marked that well. There was a lot of times that I went over like potholes, and I was like, "Shit, fuck, oh my god." I don't know if I can curse on here, but I am. But yeah, it was dangerous. I mean, because you're going so fast, and there's not really much you can do. I just remember thinking to myself, like, I'm paying attention, but there's so many people, it's so hot, they're doing the full, that maybe it's their first full, that, you know, probably wouldn't be able to control their bike as well. So I'm sure there was a lot of injuries. But yeah, there was a lot of bumps and cracks and stuff to watch out for.
Okay. Now, the aid stations and the overall course in Canada, did you have to be on the right side of the road or the left side of the road?
They actually had them on both sides. So that was pretty nice. The only thing that was kind of like a hiccup is with people for their special needs bag. That looked like that was kind of hard for people to get to, just where they set it up. Didn't seem like the smartest area. It was just really congested. But the HAs were good. I had a lot of trouble putting water in my my front aero bar thing, just because it was by the time you grabbed it, you didn't have enough time to really put it in there.
So it wasn't long enough.
No. And they were being really strict about like, you have to get rid of your trash right away because I mean, everything around here, there's so much recycling and they want to keep everything clean and pretty. And there was just marshals everywhere. And I was scared if anything I'm going to get in trouble for, I didn't want that to be what I got in trouble for.
Right. Did you see a lot of flats on the bike ride?
I didn't see any flats. I saw crashes. And when we did a climb, we had to go back by T1 and then climb up. There was like this little climb up and then come back right down to T2. And there was people coming down the descent and they were yelling at me. They were like, bear, bear, bear. And I turned to the guy next to me and I was like, surely, no, they didn't say bear, did they? And he was like, yeah. And sure enough, came around the next turn and there's bears like right there. And I was so nervous. I was like, okay, well, what if they run in front of me? And then I was like, well, now I have to come back down by them, so. And they weren't scared. They were just like, well, I couldn't do anything. I just had to keep going. And at that time, I'm going like 10 miles an hour. And so I was like, well, if it's my time, it's my time.
Right. Now, whenever you got to the last few miles of the bike ride, how was that?
I was telling myself, thank God. Thank God it's almost over. I always try to spin my legs a little bit more, but my legs were already spinning pretty fast. So I just tried to sit up a little bit and try to be as comfortable as possible. But it was pretty tricky getting back into T2. There was a lot of turns and I almost crashed into one of like the little cones at one point, but I saved it. So I was pretty happy about that.
Okay. As far as the bike goes, is there anything you'd tell someone to be aware of that hasn't done this bike course before?
It's hard. It's really hard. And I would say get used to a hard gear with slow cadence and having the smoothest pedal stroke as possible so that you don't mess up your knees or burn your legs out too much. Efficiency. Work on bike efficiency. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you take a look at your training peaks and see how much elevation gain you had?
I did, but I'm very frustrated. I can't wait till I get home and I can see my bike computer because it was dead whenever I was finally able to pick it up at 6. But my watch wasn't on bike setting. It just didn't work. And so Strava says that it was like 4,500 feet of climbing. So I don't know. We'll see. I've seen other people that say like 5. I've seen other people say, 42. I just know it was a lot. It was a lot.
Wow. Now, whenever you got to the last mile or two on the bike, are you doing anything to help prepare for the run?
Yeah, just spinning my legs, trying to sit up a little bit and just get off that dang bike. Yeah. I remember I had to pee so bad. Oh, I have a funny story. Yeah. So right after I saw the bears, I had to pee so bad. And it was like, it already, the bike ride's almost over at that point. And I remember I was like, who's going to care? Just let it go. Just, pee. And I just let it go. And I remember this lady came up behind me and she was like, nice spray. I was like, oh gosh. So that was kind of funny.
No drafting.
Yeah, no drafting, right? Yeah. So I did pee on the bike and so I felt a little bit better, but yeah.
Awesome. So you get to T2. How does T2 go for you?
Oh gosh. My legs have never felt like that in my life. I got off and I remember thinking, what just happened to me? I couldn't hardly move my leg. I was chuckling. I was running with the guy next to me and he was like, oh, I can't feel my legs. So I was like, neither can I. Got my bag really easily, got everything changed. And it was really nice because the full, I've never done a full, but there were so many people helping you. Like they were taking my shoes off for me. They were like helping me get them on. They were giving me water. I was like, oh, this is like luxury. This is pretty nice. And then I was like, crap, you gotta run. So, I get onto the run and they gave me some sunscreen, put on my face. And I remember looking down my watch and my watch was not computing. That's when I was like, dang it. I really wanted that bike info. And so I had to switch it over just to run and I tried to keep moving. I kept telling myself, it's just like a warm up. You got to get through the warm up. So yeah, it was hard.
What was the strategy for the run?
To not stop. And I knew I would have to, but I was trying to prolong that. And once we got to the trails, it was just like I had to. It was ridiculous. I don't run a lot, and this was like all uneven. It was like mountain biking territory, and it was hard. And I see all these people, and they're just running so effortlessly, and I kept telling myself, I'd watch them. I'm like, oh, just imagine yourself doing the same thing. And then I just ended up walking the up hills and running the down, which I probably shouldn't have done. And I just tried to keep going. But it was hot. It was really, really hot.
Right. Now, did you have a certain cooling plan to keep yourself cool?
I would take the ice cubes and I would hold them in my fists really, really hard. Just, I think there's like arteries right on your wrist. I don't know. I would hold that and then I would put some in my sports bra and just try to eat the ice. And I did make the mistake. This little boy, he was like, Red Bull, it gives you wings. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I want wings. And so I started drinking the Red Bull. And then it was like, oh, I want more. I need more. And I'd be fine. And then it'd be like, oh man, it just crashed. And I had like a banana. I had my orange. I was just trying everything and anything to keep going.
Okay. Now, did you have a strategy of how you wanted to attack the run from a pacing standpoint?
No, it was more, I mean, my coach was like, just try to, do 10-minute miles, see if you can do it. He believed that I could do it. I think I could have if it would have been a lot flatter. Once my feet got wet from people spraying, there was all these kids spraying with like really cold water, which, I welcomed it because it was hot. But once my feet got wet, I started getting really bad blisters. And I actually had a lady run up behind me and tell me, she was like, oh, I love your kit. And she was like, you run like my daughter, you run on your toes. And I was like, crap, that doesn't sound like the right thing. And so then I was constantly trying to like think about my form and I was just way in my head too much.
Now, what kind of socks were you using?
The Swift or whatever I don't know, they're like cycling running socks.
Okay. Are they short or long?
They're short.
They're short. I would actually maybe consider changing that to the longer socks because some of the things that I've heard is if you wear the taller socks, it will actually absorb the moisture before it gets to your feet. So that way, when you do get sprayed like you did, the water doesn't go down to all the way to your feet and get you blisters. So,
well, hopefully it wasn't from me peeing on the bike. Could have been.
Oh man, that'd be a messy situation. So, what was the best part about the run for you?
The best part of the run, it reminded me of Boulder. I got to see the pros running, and that made me feel really good because I knew, like at Boulder, if I could still see some of the slower pros, I knew I was doing like okay. I mean, mind you, the pros were doing the full, but that was awesome. Yeah, I got to see a lot of them.
Okay. Now, for this race, did you get one of the volunteer bands?
No, I did not.
Wow, they didn't do that there.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So what was the funniest thing that you saw on the run course?
The funniest thing. So there was a guy and it was around like it was around mile 6 or so. He was actually wearing a lady's one-piece bathing suit and it was like hot pink and it was a thong and he had tennis shoes on and like a wig and he was passing out like snacks and stuff. So that was pretty funny.
Wow, that's pretty.
I didn't look down. I just kind of looked at his face. So, but it was pretty funny. But when I came back around by him, I was like, "Oh, yep, that's a thong."
Wow. So the hills on the course, they're pretty much on trails, and a lot of this run course isn't on the road. It sounds like.
Well, no, actually, we actually ended up running out on the actual, I think it's 99 is the name of the highway. We actually ran out there and there was no shade. It was hot. It was beautiful, but it was ridiculously hot. And it was just a lot of up and downs. I mean, false flats and yeah, it was hard.
Okay. Miles 5 through 10, how was that for you?
They were kind of a blur. That's when it started to be like more open and it was just all I could think about was the heat. And I really wanted to unzip my kit, but I was like, I think you can get in trouble for that. So I just didn't.
Yeah. Okay. So how hard was this part for you?
It was really hard. But I think the hardest part was the last 3 miles.
Really?
The last 3 miles. Cause I knew like, I remember looking down my watch. I was getting a really good pace and, I felt really good. And then my feet really started hurting and I was so mad at myself. I was like, well, this is the last 3 miles, you can push it for 3 miles. And then I just got in my head and I ended up walking some of it and I was so mad. And I was so dehydrated. I couldn't even cry. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. And so then I was just like, oh, just go. But I think the last half mile, I ended up running the whole thing. So that was good. I was proud of myself for that. I was like, thank God, you cannot walk right now.
Right. So how was the last half mile for you?
it was very frustrating because you run through the village and you don't really know where the end is. You know it's coming, but you had to do so many different turns that you were just like, oh my God, it's almost there. Okay, push. And you turn around, you still had to keep going. But once I saw that red carpet, I was like, oh, hallelujah. And then I was like, crap, don't fall because everyone's going to see this.
Wow. So how was the finish line experience at this race for you?
The finish line was great. The second I finished, there was a guy that I ran into and he came up to me and he was like, oh my gosh, you passed me so many times on the bike. I'm so happy I passed you on the run. I was like, oh, great. Thanks. I know I'm not a good runner, but, and his wife was right there. She had raced and her name was Leslie as well. She's, it's okay. She's like, my name's Leslie too. And, you know, I'm not a good runner. So that made me smile. It made me chuckle.
Wow. So after you got done with all of this fun stuff, what did you do after you left the finish chute?
I immediately saw my husband and I told him, I was like, I want you to order me the healthiest thing you can find, the greenest, healthiest thing you can find. Because like I said, you know, a couple of days before I was trying to not, eat too many like raw vegetables. So he brought me a green juice and like this collard green wrap. And it was the greatest thing I've ever had. Oh, so good.
Wow. So how was your recovery process afterwards?
Recovery process has been really, really good. The only thing that's a problem is my feet, but muscle wise, I mean, I feel great. It's just my feet are still kind of healing.
Do you have a lot of blisters? What happened?
Yeah. So I made the mistake of when I finished, I took my shoe off and it was like blood everywhere. And I was like, oh gosh, I took my sock off and like all the skin underneath my big toe is like almost off. And so it just was rubbed raw.
Okay. I'm getting some feedback. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So looking back on it, how well prepared for this race do you think you were?
I think I was really well prepared. And that's why I kept telling myself I couldn't have prepared any more than I did. I gave him 100% for a year. I trained every day. I gave it my all. And I knew that as long as I kept in the moment and I gave my best in every single moment, I wouldn't be disappointed. And of course, I want to be fitter than I am, especially on the run. But I gave it my all in that moment. So I can't ask any more of myself.
That makes sense. Now, looking at it from an athlete's point of view, how could Ironman have made your race experience better?
You know, I don't think they could have made it any better. They had a lot on their plate doing a full and a half on the same day. Of course, you know, as an athlete, you get frustrated because you're nervous and, you know, you want everything right then and there. You don't want to wait in line, but they did a great job. They did a great job.
Okay. If you could change anything about your race experience and before you did this race, what would you change?
Well, at first I would have said, you know, having the power meter work, but I'm almost glad I didn't know because I've, you know, not knowing how hard I was having to push probably helped me. I would say doing something with my feet. And I always say that, but I think if I didn't get blisters so bad, I think I could have pushed a little bit more instead of having to walk, which I don't know what the answer is, but I'm pretty blister prone. I think it's just I don't run enough, you know, and I need to go back to the drawing board with my coach and work on my running form. So, yeah.
Have y'all worked on your running form before?
Yes, a lot. And I don't think your listeners know this, but I have 2 screws in one of my hip.
Really?
And yeah, I had a stress fracture. So the mobility in one of my legs is not great. So I'm constantly struggling to keep that mobility and to keep strength at the same time. So just running over time, my body starts breaking down a little bit. So it's just a little harder for me. I just have to work a little bit harder on core stuff. And I handle it as best I can. But, you know, I'll get there.
What kind of injury caused you to get screws?
Running. Yeah. I ran a lot before I got into triathlon and I just think it wasn't the correct running form and just doing too much. And, I was running on a broken hip for, you know, over a year before I got diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. I remember my doctor, he took an x-ray and he was like, you know, it's cracked. You need surgery next week. He was like, how are you walking around? I was like, well, I don't know. I just am. Yeah. So wow. I have a really high pain tolerance. So I know if something starts hurting me, it's usually pretty severe. So
that could be good and bad, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So what's something that you learned about this race experience that you'd want to pass on to someone who hasn't done this race before?
I would say that you're capable of pushing past whatever limits you have in your mind. Yeah. As long as you stay in the moment and you give it your all in that moment, you'd be surprised what you can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for first timers doing this race, first 70.3 athletes, what advice would you give them?
Oh boy. I would say, definitely work on, VO2 max on the bike, building up the ability to suffer a little bit longer, because it's brutal. I mean, you can't stop. I mean, you have to keep going up. You can't unclip. I mean, you have to keep going, but definitely bike. Yeah, a lot of bike.
Okay. We covered a lot about your race. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we
Say what?
I think we covered it.
Cool. Well, I only have a few more questions left. What races are on your bucket list?
I don't know that I have a bucket list. I was really hoping to, at least get a roll down for France just to make that be like a family vacation. But, my run's just not there. And, so I guess just trying to do another race to, I'm good with a roll down. As long as I get a roll down and be able to go, that would be awesome. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, are you satisfied with your performance here?
Well, of course, I'm not satisfied with not being what in my mind I think I can do. But like I said, I gave it my all in that moment. And so couldn't ask for anything more.
Okay. Now, I know you've only been in the sport of triathlons for about 3 years now, and this is on your fourth 70.3. But why are you even in the sport of triathlon and doing endurance sports to begin with?
Oh, I love it because every time I have to do, a hard swim, a hard bike, it is like my therapy. It is so awesome to get to the point where you think you can't do anymore and push past it. I mean, you just totally transcend, not giving up in yourself. We're only against ourselves out there. I mean, I don't like it when people start comparing themselves to others because everybody's struggle is different. So I like struggling with myself. I like failing because I know that if I fail, I can always do better. And I don't know, I like that. I like the challenge of always having to push myself past the point where I think I have to stop.
Okay. So you kind of avoided the question of what races are on your bucket list.
Well, I don't really have any. Like I said, I haven't been doing that this long. This is the first time that I was telling my coach, this is the first time I've ever been fit enough to do a taper. I've never experienced a taper because I've never been fit enough, and I've always had an injury. So we've always had to make it up with a swim or a bike. And so I was freaking out the week before this race because I've just never experienced that feeling that everybody talks about. And I get it now. So I don't know. I think just being able to race any race is my bucket list because I was told I wasn't going to be able to run. And so here I am still running and swimming and biking. So everyone's a blessing.
All right. So how can athletes follow you?
I have an Instagram, but it's mainly just, random food I eat. I know people get so sick of seeing that kind of stuff, but I think it's the Pure Vita Vegan is my name.
Okay. So what's next for you?
Like I said, I would really love to qualify for Worlds. Like I said, I probably only get a roll down, but I mean, I would take it. I want to be able to go to Europe, and I want to be able to make it a family trip, just like this, just be able to do it. I don't know that I would be able to get this fitness for very long. So I'm just trying to grasp every second that I can of it.
Wow. Well, Leslie, I only have one more question, and I'm sure you know it's coming, but what's your definition of a perfect race?
That's an easy one for me. Cause I think about it all the time. It's flow. To be able to, when your mind goes dark, to be able to set it aside, think, and I do a lot of meditation, and just tell yourself, okay, I'm thinking, okay, I'm feeling, and then just move past it, and then just focus on what you can control in that moment. Okay, I can sit on my bike a little bit different. I can do my pedal stroke, or, you're swimming, you can, push back a little harder. Just stay in the moment, the flow.
Wow. Well, Leslie, I want to just thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with me today. I've enjoyed hearing about your race at Canada. It's been awesome.
Thank you. I hope it wasn't too boring.
It wasn't. I've enjoyed it. Well,
Wait, now I'm going to be known as the one that peed on her bike.
Oh, you are not the first. You are not the first.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you have a good day, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.